Well, hello, Andrew. It's so great to see you. I'm so happy that we were able to find this time to get to introduce you to the people here at St. Stephen in Minnesota and to share with them the vital work that you all are doing at Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service. So why don't you just take a moment to say hello and to briefly share a little bit about the work that LIRS does for those that might not be so familiar with you all.
Thanks so much, Ethan. I would be remiss if I did not just give a shout out to Wittenberg University, our alma mater, Tiger Up. It's good to be with a fellow Tiger. So my name is Andrew, and I do serve as the Vice President for Development and Outreach here at LIRS. We are based in Baltimore, but we are a national organization. We are actually the nation's largest faith-based NGO, nonprofit that is solely focused on immigration and refugee work. And I'm very, blessed that I've been called to this role as Vice President for Development and Outreach here. So LIRS was started in 1939. I mean, we are 80 plus years old as an organization, and it really speaks to our Lutheran DNA. Our church is an immigrant church, right? We Germans, Swedes, Norwegians, you know the story, brought the church with them when they came here, right? So it is deeply ingrained in who we are as Lutherans and then as an organization. So we quickly, 1939, we started because of World War II, of course, taking care of folks from Europe. But we quickly evolved to really be a major player in all the crises, refugee crises in history: Cuba, Vietnam, South Sudan, et cetera, and now Afghanistan, of course. And so we are very busy these days, making sure that we are answering the call to welcome the stranger.
That's such such an important and vital ministry of this church, and something that I think it's important for congregations to really understand and to know that that's work that they also are supporting at the end of the day. And I think stories and hearing about real people are some of the best ways that we can connect. At the local congregation level with these challenges that can become so impersonal with all the sound bites that we hear in the news and the media. Do you have a story or something that you might be willing to share that can help the congregation better understand the work that you're doing?
Yeah, and Heath, I think we all probably can think of many stories from our congregations and our history of refugee resettlement. Many congregations across the country were involved in resettling Vietnamese refugees. I'm sure St. Stephen's has some history and some stories, human stories of impacting the neighbor. For me, other than my own immigrant story, and we all have one, right? Unless we are indigenous to this land or were brought here due to slavery. I mean, we're all part of an immigrant story somewhere. But I think of friends I have who might be former refugees or migrants. I think of actually one of our board members, Matur Lear. He was one of the lost boys of Sudan who came to the US as an unaccompanied refugee minor. So he was under the age of 18. He was truly one of the lost boys of Sudan and came here. And who was at the airport when he flew into the greater Philadelphia area? It was members of St. John's Lutheran from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Now, there's no Lutheran church, or there was no Lutheran church in Sudan or South Sudan at the time. But Matur joined St. John's Lutheran in Phoenixville, started getting very involved in his congregation, went on to Penn State, go Nittany Lions, I suppose. And now he is a leader of South Sudan Lutheran Church in Fargo, North Dakota, where he is the director for diversity, equity, inclusion efforts for the Moorhead, Minnesota public school system. And he's on the board of LIRS. He's on a Synod council. He's been to churchwide assemblies. And again, this all started from that initial welcome, right? And now Matur, not only is he growing his family in Fargo, he has a bunch of kids running around right now, but he just recently was able to bring his mother here from South Sudan after all these years. Now he's in his 30s. It is such a beautiful story of what it means to be, America at our best, and also who we as the church could be at our best, because that investment in that welcome of Matur, we're now getting the return on the investment of his leadership in our church, right? And that's just one of many stories that makes up this ministry.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. A story that's personal that board member, but also just helps us to see how refugees and immigrants make our community stronger at the end of the day, which is just
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
LIRS works with refugees globally, but because of recent events, I think that there's been an unprecedented increase in the number of refugees fleeing Afghanistan, and that's been on the top of mind for many in our communities here in the United States. And so I'm wondering if you could talk about how IRS has been involved in that effort briefly.
Yes. So the last several months have been the most intense working days of my professional life. I know that much, and for many of my colleagues, it is unprecedented. Even with the fall of Saigon, which many people have compared this to, and it is similar in some ways, especially in terms of the numbers. But the refugee resettlement system um, over the last several years was really decimated. We had seen the number of refugees being brought into the U.S. decline year over year. So what that meant is we had to lay off a lot of staff members, close offices, and so our capacity to respond in a way was really stretched thin. And so right now we're feeling that stretch. Um, Again, we are one of the 9 resettlement agencies, refugee resettlement agencies that works with the federal government. And so they basically came to all 9 of us and said, "We need your help now. We need you to do something now." So as these families and individuals of Afghan refugees leave the military bases, and actually tens of thousands are still at the bases. And I won't get into the nuances. It's very complicated and there's a lot of details, but basically they get to decide where they want to go. So we've made a call out to all of our affiliates around the country saying, how many Afghan refugees would you be able to take? Lutheran Social Services of Minnesota is our local affiliate there in Minnesota, and in the St. Cloud and Minneapolis area, they've given us a number. This is how many we can, you know, take in, make sure we get them housing and help, and make sure that we're not overwhelmed so that they don't succeed and thrive. So we put a call out to our affiliate network. But the reality is, we're seeing a large number of Afghan refugees arrive in areas where there are large Afghan communities, which is not surprising. So Sacramento, California, Seattle, Tacoma, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and then Northern Virginia or DC. So right now, our local affiliate in the DC area, Lutheran Social Services of the National Capital Area, is at is really they can't take on any more themselves. It was a smaller office at the time, but they are getting by far the largest number of Afghan refugees who are walking in saying, "This is where we want to live." So we just this week, this is hot off the press news. We are partnering with Peace Lutheran Church in Alexandria, Virginia, and we are going to be opening up a temporary field office so that we can meet the needs of the clients. Start ESL courses for those who don't speak English, enroll their children into schools, job placement services, making sure we can equip folks because they are job eligible to get jobs, and then housing is the number one issue right now. We have seen an incredible outpouring of support from individuals, congregations, corporate America. We've seen companies like Airbnb, Uber, Price Waterhouse Coopers, Amazon Web Services, who have actually stepped up and supported us financially and also with credits to help, an Airbnb to help refugees have some temporary housing. So it's an all hands on deck effort right now. We still need help. We still need volunteers, financial support, but because we want to ensure the long welcome is possible for these folks, and we're working hard to do that.
That's perfect. And Andrew, I want to shift gears just really quickly to just the connection of this work with our faith. And you already mentioned how the Lutheran Church, in its rootedness, is an immigrant church here in the U.S. And so I'm wondering, you're deeply connected to the Lutheran tradition. Your parents are ELC pastors. You've worked for the ELCA in Chicago, for Lutheran College, our alma mater, and now for LIRS. I'm wondering if you could just talk about how the work that you do on a daily basis, how does it connect with this Lutheran faith that we proclaim?
Yeah, I mean, this is just who we are as Lutheran Christians. I recently said to some colleagues at the church road office, and I think they agree. Like, I want the world to know the ELCA as like the welcoming denomination. I want the world to know the ELCA as the immigration denomination, and in some ways we already are. And some of the things that we've done, the ministries that we've started. And also, again, looking at LIRS, 82 plus years of history of our church coming together, saying we have to answer the call to welcome a stranger. To me, um, and I know this is probably not going to be a popular comment with some, and I understand that, but for me, immigration is not political. We've made it political, but as Christians, as Lutheran Christians, if we are to truly believe and listen to the words of Jesus, then welcoming the stranger is a call, and loving your neighbor is a strong commandment that we have to adhere by. And so for me, it's the right thing to do, and it's the smart thing to do. And I think for a church like ours, that generally speaking, is maybe not on the upswing of growth in terms of number of people in church and what have you. Perhaps if we were not only more welcoming, but more inviting, we would be. And I think being focused on this work, being engaged in this work, community members see that, they admire that. I mean, we've gotten over 14,000 new individual donors to LRS this year because of the Afghan crisis, many of whom now are like, I got to check out these Lutherans and see what they're all about because, golly, they're doing great work. So I think this is a chance for us to live out that evangelical part of our ELCA denomination and, to truly do God's work with our hands.
No, that is so well said, and I'm so glad that you made that so abundantly clear that it's just hard to deny that this isn't a political issue. It's really a challenge for faithful people to come and say that this is a call that we have. Well,
Mhm.
Andrew, I think that we need to leave it there for today. I'm wondering if you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with us and the congregation here at St. Stephen.
Well, again, just thank you. And this is our church's work, and I hope congregations and individuals feel that and experience that and know that you are a part of LRS. One of the things that we might not feel or see every day, but I know is happening are your prayers. And so just thank you for lifting up not just LIRS and our organization, but those we serve in your prayers. And thank you for discerning where you might walk with some of our new neighbors in your community. Always think about stretching far outside of just your tight geography, perhaps, where the neighbor, the definition of who is our neighbor might be much more expansive than that. So I already know you're on the right steps towards that, and I just give thanks for all that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks again for taking the time to speak with us today and for the work that your entire team at LIRS is doing. I think that you're really being Christ to the neighbor and living into that call that we have. So thanks so much for joining us. And for those of you at St. Stephen, we will have resources and opportunities for you to connect with how to support the work of LIRS in the future, both here with Lutheran Social Services in Minnesota and nationally through LIRS. Thanks so much, Andrew, and we wish you well in the days ahead.
Thanks, Heath. Take care.